All right, and welcome back to the Paisan Sports podcast. Dante DePlacido, joined as always by Zach Deal of What's the Deal Sports. And speaking of that, I gotta ask, what's the deal with Alec Boehm being in the home run derby? He doesn't hit home runs. Why is he there?
Yeah, I was pretty surprised by that news. I mean, if we're talking about, you can go down the list of Phillies that have more pop than Alec Boehm in the bat. He does drive in a lot of runs, so that's intriguing in itself. But as a power guy, I'm actually excited to see. Maybe it's just the way that he swings, and he's more of a contact swinging kind of guy. But
Yeah.
maybe he'll be able to showcase what he's got power wise this in a couple weeks.
I'm actually, you know what? I'm actually really excited for it because of the fact that he's not a home run hitter. Because now we'll actually get to see him hitting home runs, which is it's kind of exciting. You never really see Bohm hit a ton of home runs. You're gonna get to see him hit a plethora of them in the Derby, see how well he can do. Maybe he'll surprise everybody. So I'm actually really looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good showcase. I think Marcell Ozuna just agreed to be a participant in
You mean
there.
Ozuna from the Braves?
Ozuna from the Braves, if that's what you want to refer to him as.
That's the
Um,
only way he should be referred to from now on.
so
But
there's
yeah.
definitely going to be some guys that have some pop. Who are the other contestants in
Off
Home
the
Run Derby?
top of my head, Bobby Witt Jr. I know he's in it. I forget who else. Maybe Shohei. Maybe I don't think so, but I know Bobby Witt Jr. and Marcel Ozuna and Bohm are a part of it. That's what I know off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, if Shohei's in there, then he's definitely somebody that
That's a
everybody wants to
maybe.
see.
I could be completely wrong on that. Let me there's a
Yeah, give
post.
it a quick look up real quick for our viewers while
Okay,
I'm posting on
Gunnar
Facebook as
Henderson.
we speak.
Gunnar, honestly, that's a great matchup. You have Bobby Witt
That's
Jr.
like the
and
perfect
Gunnar.
person for it to be in the home run derby of anybody right now. I think he might honestly be the perfect person because he's on the come up, he's young, and he
He's
has
hitting
a
a
lot
ton
of
of
pop.
bombs.
He's got a
And then
lot of
you
power.
have Bobby Witt Jr., who I mean, like the whole like Bobby Witt Jr. and Mike Trout. I mean, Bobby Witt Jr. and Gunnar Henderson feels like Bryce Harper and Mike Trout all over again, just not on that big of a scale where it's like they're both two young shortstops. They were high prospects. They have a phenomenal start to their career, and there's lots of debate over who's better, Witt Jr. or Henderson. So to see the two of them square off in the home run derby, I think that's very exciting. Also participating is Pete Alonso. That's the one name I forgot. Yeah, Pete
He's like
Alonso.
almost a given to do it every single year, and he's
Yeah,
always
so Ozuna,
not a dark horse to win it, but it seems like he doesn't always have the greatest odds to win it, but somebody that you could feel comfortable putting your money on.
yeah. So all total, we have Ozuna from the Braves, Bobby Witt Jr., Pete Alonso, Alec Boehm, and Gunnar Henderson. So, I mean, outside of Boehm, it's a pretty well, and Bobby Witt Jr. It's a pretty good slate of guys. One thing I was thinking about the other day is I love like when home run derbies are in a ballpark where there's what I would consider to be targets, right? You know what I mean? Like, let's say it's in San Fran, right? You want to see balls
That's
going.
the first ballpark that popped into my head.
Yeah, like
Dropping
if
into
it's
the
at
bag
Fenway, you want to see balls
right
clear
over
the
the Green Monster.
monster. If it's at, let's say, Petco Park, how high up into the Western Metal Supply Company
I always
buildings.
saw Minute Maid had a unique ballpark as well,
Yeah,
especially for
yeah, hit it
their
onto
fun.
the can you hit it onto the train tracks, you know what I mean? Like I like that's why I like ballparks like that for home run derbies. You know what I mean? If there was a home run derby at like Guarantee Rate Field where it's nothing but seats in the outfield, it's like, you know what I mean? Like you're not really it's not really
Yeah.
as exciting. And there's some decent targets this year. Where are they playing again? Why am I blanking? I just was looking at this the other day.
Oh, what ballpark they're playing at?
Yeah, where's the home run derby this year?
I know last year's was in Seattle, correct?
Yeah. It is. Oh yeah, that's right. It's in Texas at Globe Life Field. So I mean, really, I think like a good target is above the batter's eye because there's seats up there. So I
Yeah.
think that's kind of cool to see, if people can hit home runs into those seats above the batter's eye. There's I don't know how possible it's going to be. I really don't watch any Rangers games, but I mean, home runs get hit a lot further during the Derby. But I wonder if that third deck all the way up there. I wonder if
Somebody
that.
can definitely reach that.
Well, I know this. So, like at Orioles Park, no one's ever hit no one's ever hit that warehouse past right field except for in a home run derby when Ken Griffey Jr. hit it. So the realm of possibility really expands during a home run derby.
I'm trying to see if we can get some odds on the home run derby, but it doesn't look like we have any on FanDuel right now.
That's unfortunate. Well, yeah, it's still a couple weeks away. Or no, is it? When is it? Is it this weekend? I think it might be this weekend.
Nah, it's next weekend.
Next weekend. Okay, that's right.
It's All-Star games on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, anyway, speaking of All-Star games, last week on the podcast we mentioned it's a little unfortunate that we still won't get to see Bryce Harper participate in an All-Star game for the Phillies. But after recent news, it was reported that Schwarber will be coming back tomorrow. Harper will be very close behind him. To me, that's kind of hinting at the weekend series. Harper will make his return. So it sounds like he's good to go for the All-Star game. And that's honestly excellent news that Schwarber and possibly Harper are coming back this week because they need them back in the lineup.
I know. I just really wish that they both were coming back for the Dodgers series because that's the closest thing we get to like a playoff type baseball series.
We get one of them
really tell our tale.
What's that?
No, I was just saying it's like a true test of where you can see where your team's at right now, but it's really hard to gauge where they're at. I mean, we would have liked to be able to match up with the Braves and see how that would have went if we were a little bit healthier. I know they're missing a couple of their best players too, but we're missing like 3 of our 5 best players. And that series kind of went the way that I kind of expected it to go because this Braves lineup is not going away at all.
Not only that, I mean, we had to start Michael Mercado on Sunday because of the injuries to Turnbull. And as much as I hate Taijuan Walker, I mean, I think he could have pitched better than that. I mean, Michael Mercado just couldn't find the strike zone, only lasted 1 2/3 innings. He looked horrible out there. So, yeah, I mean, injuries are definitely hurting this team right now, but at least we'll have some more strength going into the Dodgers series than the Braves series. We're not going to have to start our 5th starter. We get 3 of our best guys on the mound. So I think it's still going to be a pretty exciting series to watch. One guy.
Do you think the pitching staff's going to be as good as they were to start the season? Because it kind of seems like there's a couple different guys that are slumping right now, and it might just be midway through the season. They need to get a little bit of rest, and they've pitched a lot. And a lot of the starting pitchers for the Phillies, too, when they've had really good outings, a couple of them went complete games, which is rare to see nowadays. So where do you think the pitching staff lies heading into the All-Star break?
I'm not worried, It's not like these guys pitching well is an anomaly, and it's also not like they're not capable of pitching well later in the season. Ranger Suarez has pitched really well in the postseason. So has Nola, so has Wheeler. These guys can get it done. It's a long season. Everybody, hitters, pitchers, everyone goes through their slumps. So I'm not I'm not overly worried about it at all.
It just seems like Ranger really hasn't been able to find his groove in the past couple outings
Yeah.
that he's been out. I mean, it looked like he was going to have, at this point in the season, maybe even like 15 wins, but he's been stuck at 10 since
He's
it's
been
almost
stuck
a
at
month
10.
from now.
It was quite a few podcasts ago that we mentioned.
We were talking about him still being undefeated, like 4 weeks ago? Where he
Yeah.
was 9-0?
I mean, and he's had good outings since then where he just wasn't able to pick up the win. But yeah, he was on like record pace in wins early in the season, and now
I feel like his issue is he's like almost like too pinpoint, where he throws a lot of his pitches in the strike zone. So if you're just pinpointing where he's going to throw, and if you just trust him to throw into the strike zone, there's going to be something there to be had. So I think maybe a little bit of time off. He is obviously an all-star, one of the 7 all-stars that the Phillies were named. And did they name a starter for the all-star game yet?
They didn't. I don't think they named the starting.
So he might be potentially still even starting in the All-Star game. So he'll get a little bit of rest on that weekend, but still pitch most likely in the All-Star game. But maybe it's good to see him kind of just step back from the game a little bit, have some time to enjoy the festivities and his accolade, and kind of breathe it all in, play against some of the best players in the league, and maybe he can get back on track.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this team does need the All-Star break at this moment in time. To get healthier, to rest some of their arms. I think so. I think some time off will really benefit this team, and hopefully they'll come back as strong as they were in May. But I mean, this is still a really, really good team. And one guy I want to talk about, speaking of pitchers, is the guy they called up who pitched the final 4 innings in yesterday's game, Tyler Phillips. A local guy, as it turns out. I actually discovered this because I saw on Twitter or Instagram, might have been Instagram, somebody caught after he got a strikeout to end the inning, pumped his fist, and then the camera picked up, like you could kind of read his lips. He kind of said like "pussy" as he walked towards the dugout. And whoever posted that was like, I'm not the best at reading lips, but it looks like he said pussy. And some guy commented, goes, I went to high school with that guy. He definitely said pussy. So I was like, oh, so this guy might be local. So I did some digging. He's actually from Lumberton. So
really?
Yeah.
That's funny. I always mess with my cousin. My cousin's a Padres fan. He grew up in San Diego. And I don't know if you remember when Joe Kelly was like barking at all the Padres hitters after he was striking them out, and he was like literally giving them like the lip, and he was like screaming like motherfucker and shit at them after the plate. And I always mess with them about that, and just like tell them that night Joe Kelly was just a straight up menace to all of San Diego, striking people out at the plate and just cursing them out and almost causing fights out there. So when you got a pitcher that has that edge to them, I mean, that's a plus in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like if he's got that fire in him, that's what you want on the mound.
Especially game 88 of the regular season midway through. You didn't even think he would be pitching in the major leagues probably that week. So it's always
the
good
other
to see
thing
passion and fire to their game.
Yeah,
means a little bit more to some people.
Yeah, the other thing too is, I mean, he's a local kid, so he's most likely been a Phillies fan his whole life. So ergo, he hates the Braves just as much as anyone. So although it's game 88 for a lot of guys on the roster, for him it's like, I'm facing the Braves. I need to strike.
I'm a lifetime Phillies fan. I'm pitching for the Phillies, and I'm pitching against my least favorite team. I'm doing everything. He might have shot up some HGH before the game.
And you know what? He had, for a guy making his first major league appearance, he had a heck of a performance. He went 4 innings, giving up 1 run and 7 strikeouts in 4 innings. So
that is really good. I mean, it was kind of, wiped away with the entire performance from the team and just losing the last 2 games of the series to the Braves, a combined total of 11-1. So only putting up 1 run in 18 innings of baseball is very tough, but it's kind of what we expected from this roster. I mean, Trey was definitely on a heater with his bat. He was right after I said that he doesn't have any pop in his bat. He hits 4 home runs in 1 week and 2 multi-home run games. But outside of that, without Schwarber and Harper, it's really hard to come by for home runs for the Phillies.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, they won a few games thanks to the offense of Trey Turner, but obviously in baseball, you can't just rely on one guy to get it done offensively, which is why they really need back the guys they're missing. Um, so it's really good. Everyone's coming back. Well, with the exception of JT Realmuto, who they mentioned will be coming back sometime after the All-Star break. I would love to see more of Rafael Marchand until then. Although,
Do you think
you know
he's
what,
closing
Scott's
gap
still
a little
doing
bit,
well.
like playoff wise? Do you think he actually is making it a conversation for him to make the playoff roster if it came down to it?
Who,
I mean, Garrett
Marchand?
Stubbs also, yeah, Garrett Stubbs
Yeah.
also had what, a 9-game hitting streak not too long ago. So that's
I
not
mean,
something that you can take lightly either.
I as much as I like Marchand over Stubbs, I mean, realistically, Marchand is not going to be on the playoff roster. The backup catcher during the postseason never sees never sees the field at all. Especially
Maybe
now in
it's
the
just a different conversation though since the injury to JT. They just want to make sure they have that extra uh, person that they can rely on in big moments. And Marchand actually, I mean, talk about somebody that stepped up and had a little pop in the bat while no one else has pop in the bat. I think he's had what, 3 or 4 home runs since JT's been out, which doesn't seem like a lot, but they've been timely
well, he's
home
barely
runs.
played. Also, he's split his starts
Yeah.
with Stubbs. So you know what? Just to look at some percentages on stats here, because you know what? Because I'm gonna look up Marchand as well now to see like his home run percentage and all of that. But taking a look at the pitching stats for Tyler Phillips, just to get a gauge on how well he did in 4 innings, he's allowing a opponent batting average of 200. He has a strikeout percentage of 46, and a walk percentage of 0. Obviously, a very very small sample size, but I mean, like it's like a gauge on how well this kid can do. Hopefully, I mean he didn't perform the best in the minor league, so hopefully that wasn't just like a flash in the pan, and hopefully he can actually pitch well. But oh yeah, and he has a strikeout. His strikeout per 9 inning rate is 15.8. With an ERA of what are we looking at here for ERA? 2.25.
Not
So
too shabby.
yeah, I mean an excellent start against the Braves offense at that. So an excellent start to the career of Tyler Phillips. I'm rooting for him even more because he's a local kid, and you know he's got that fire in him, which is great. So hopefully he continues to do well. I would even like to see. I looked into it. He was a starter in the minors, so I would even like to see. I mean, because how much better can Michael Mercado be than him? You know, I mean, if you're gonna try out Michael Mercado as the 5th starter, maybe give Tyler Phillips a shot and see what he can do.
I think
Now,
there's definitely a spot to be had right now. And there's pretty much an audition period, and this is the perfect time for the
yes,
season to have this issue where
absolutely.
you'd rather have this issue now than it come August. And this is a
Mhm.
conversation that you're having. So we got to see when Taiwan Walker's back. I mean, he's had these like obscure injuries the entire year. And you don't even know how long you can gauge that he would be back. He's got what, a hot spot is what they're calling it on one of his fingers. And obviously,
Yeah, I don't even know. Um,
and
and
Spencer
now,
Turnbull's obviously out missing some time too, so they have a gap that can be filled. And I don't think it's like a set thing where they have a guy and this is it. They're kind of just auditioning guys and see who's ready. I mean, I think if Andrew Painter was completely healthy, he would be up in the majors
oh,
at this point.
absolutely, he would have been up in the majors last season if he was healthy. He was projected to be the 5th starter going into last year, but now to look real quick at Rafael Marchand's power numbers. Currently in 45 at bats, 48 plate appearances, banged 267 with a 511 slugging percentage. He's got 3 home runs in those 45 at-bats, which if you do the math, that's 15 at-bats per home run, which that's good power numbers. So
we got Matt from CSB checking in saying good afternoon, fellas. New York sports fan there, so we got a little bit of a rivalry going on. But
well, hey, you want to talk
New York
about
Knicks
New York sports? It's time for my meatball of the week.
All righty.
And my meatball of the week this week is the New York Mets. Okay. Because I almost called it last week on this podcast. Things were going very well for the Mets ever since Grimace came out to throw the first pitch. And I made a prediction. I said they were going to do something like bring Grimace out for another first pitch to ride high off of the recent success, and that would completely backfire, and they would play like crap after that. I wasn't exactly right. I was a little off. They brought out, I think, I forget what Latin singer they brought out, Jose Iglesias, or is that a pitcher? I don't know. But they brought out somebody for a little pregame concert. The players got out there on the field and they were dancing around with this guy singing on the mic. Whole crowd's hype. Yeah, we're doing well again. We're actually winning baseball games. And since then, they've been bad again.
That's just how the Mets have gone. They've been up and down the entire year. I think Francisco Lindor kind of was snubbed a little bit on his All-Star nomination. We didn't really get to touch on the All-Star game too much while we were talking baseball. Do you think anybody was snubbed, in your opinion? Like maybe even Phillies snubbed?
I don't think.
I thought a couple guys for the Phillies were actually there was a couple guys that made it to the second ballot of the voting that didn't really deserve to be there.
No one on the Phillies was snubbed. Also, I don't know if Matt is a Mets fan or a Yankees fan, but also doing really bad right now is the Yankees. Yeah, I was just about to say that. The Yankees look horrible right now.
Yeah, I think since what? It was like since mid-June they have like the worst record in the entire MLB. And that's what I was going to say is when we were talking about the Phillies like having no pop in their bat with Schwarber and Harper missing, I think the Yankees are pretty much the same. If Juan Soto or Aaron Judge aren't producing, it's really tough for that team to score runs.
Yeah, I mean, those are kind of the two guys they rely on. You know what I mean? They're not getting much from Anthony Volpe. Giancarlo Stanton is well past his prime. That's kind of what they lean on is the offensive Aaron Judge and Juan Soto. So, yeah, exactly. When those guys aren't producing, they don't really have much to lean on. So, but yeah, I mean, it's always a good time when all of New York sports is failing at the moment. You love to see it. I love to see it. But yeah, to talk about the All-Star selections, I mean, I think every Phillies player who really deserved to go to the All-Star game got there, and all the Phillies players who didn't deserve to didn't get there. I think it's perfect. You know what I mean? Bohm, Harper, Trey Turner, all definitely deserve to be in the All-Star game. You can talk about Trey Turner.
I thought it was interesting that Trey even made it because obviously he was going up against Mookie Betts, and Mookie got hurt himself. So if Mookie never gets hurt, I mean, you can kind of say the same. I'm interested to see how that race would have played out if neither of them ever got hurt. And who? I
think Trey Turner would have won the race convincingly. I mean, you know, he has since the start of the season, since coming back from injury, he has not showed any signs of, you know, not playing up to par. You know, he's played he's been so consistent since before the injury and after the injury. The only difference is more pop after the injury, which is definitely a good thing. I think if he would have been healthy all season, I think he would even be in MVP conversations right now.
Yeah, I just think his numbers outside of, like you said, he's had some more pop since he came back from injury. His numbers outside of pre-injury, I mean, he really didn't have the home runs or RBIs to be there, but that batting average was still extremely high. So I feel like some people would discredit how well he's actually hitting the ball just because the numbers aren't completely there. But, I mean, You want to talk about somebody that's getting on base almost twice a game. I mean, Trey Turner is your guy.
Yeah, what's his batting average at right now? He's batting 335.
342, I think.
He's batting 335. He was
335.
batting 340 before going 0 for 3 yesterday. So yeah, I mean he's consistently kept his batting average above 330 and now 215 at bats. It's not that small of a sample size to be able to keep your average that high this consistently.
I actually just saw a bet on FanDuel, and it's Steve Kwan to finish the regular season with a 400 plus batting average or not, and it's plus 8,000 odds. Yes, I think he's batting like 360 right now, if I believe.
Wait,
correctly.
the bet is for him to finish with a 400 batting average?
Yeah, for plus 8,000 odds is yes.
I mean, that's not going to happen.
I mean, remember last year with Luis Arias, he was batting like what 370 almost the entire year, and then tailed off at the end, and I think it was like towards like 340 ish.
Yeah, and that's the thing. 370 isn't even nearly close.
I mean, that's the issue though. If you're trying to bat 400, you literally have to get 2 hits a game. Like if you have a 1-hit game, even in a 1 for 3 type outing, I mean, you're lowering your batting average as crazy as that sounds. So
yeah, So,
but I thought fans would vote like Bryson Stott into the All-Star game, which I don't think was due whatsoever. I actually am pretty disappointed right now with Bryson Stott's effort this season. Not his actual effort, but just the way that he's playing. I just don't think he's seeing the ball coming out of the pitcher's hand too well. And I feel like he's kind of pushing a little bit, but it's not like he's pushing and he's hitting home runs and batting a low batting average. I just think he's not seeing the ball as well, and he's just really not making good contact with the ball.
Yeah, hopefully he'll pick it back up. I mean, he's shown what he's capable of doing last season, batting, I think it was 280. He played pretty well in the postseason.
His defense is there, though. I'll give him the defense.
Yeah, and here's the thing. We're not even at the All-Star break yet. I mean, you've seen many times in baseball, guys have a subpar season going into the All-Star break, and then post-All-Star break, they just play out of their minds. I mean, you saw Harper did it the year he won the MVP. Jimmy Rollins, the year he won the MVP. You see a lot in baseball. Those are just 2 examples off the top of my head. But, I mean, there's always a chance he picks it back up after the All-Star break. There's also always a chance he doesn't pick it back up for the rest of the season, but he picks it back up next season. You know what I mean? That's just how baseball is. I still think he has tremendous upside. But
he's definitely a player that does more, and he's a good base runner as well. It's not all just about hitting for him. So that's the one plus in the situation. But we just can't come into the playoffs just with multiple question marks in the batting order. You know what I mean? Like you said, not all 1 through 9 is going to be perfect all the time. But, I mean, in case there's an injury to another position and then you have him batting not as well, then maybe Castellanos kind of tails off a little bit and gets into a slump. Then you have a serious issue with your batting order.
Well, that's actually something else I want to talk about. Talk about somebody who's really picked it up lately, Nick Castellanos. He's been batting really, really well as of late after a very slow start to the season. I mean, he was at one point batting like 205 at one point.
He was batting under 200 for a good amount of time.
Yeah, actually, it was under 200.
Past 2 months.
And
really turned his game up.
I think he batted since this is what I saw the other day. I don't know if this number isn't still accurate, but this was the other day I saw since Harper and Schwarber got hurt, Nick Castellanos had been batting 405. So he really has picked it up lately for sure.
And they need him to too. And that's a righty bat accommodating for lefty bats out of the lineup. And that's why I'm surprised why Bryson Stott hasn't been able to find a groove at all, because he's been batting leadoff. They haven't even put Trey in the leadoff spot. They put Bryson in the leadoff spot, and they tried to spark him that way. And it just really hasn't seemed like anything can get the engine going.
Yeah. And also, speaking of Stott's base running, one guy who you're really starting to see how insanely good of a base runner he is now that he's actually getting on base a little bit and can show it off is Whit Merrifield. Don't get me wrong. I'm still no Whit Merrifield fan, but now that he's been getting on base a bit more lately, he is really showing off his ability to steal bases. I mean, listen,
Especially at that age too. That's like the first thing that
Yeah.
they say that will go is your legs on you too. I mean, being a smart baseball player is something that you can never lose. So
the jump he gets when he's stealing
that's
back
all
is
those years of being
insane.
in the MLB.
It's
Vast
crazy.
amount of experience.
There is not much good I can say about Whit Merrifield, but his base running it's absurd. It is really good.
Are you willing to throw it out there that he's just cooked, or is he just going through a rut right now, or what's up with Whit Merrifield?
I would say maybe a little bit of both. I mean, it's not like he's not like David Dahl, where he just had like one good season and has been bad for the past few years. I mean, Whit Merrifield, he spent more time being good than being bad. I think like even last year he had pretty good numbers. I think it definitely feels more to me like it's just like it kind of feels like he's cooked because like if this is a rut, this is one hell of a
Yeah,
rut.
it's been a long, long time.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of opportunities
It's
with
been
all
the
the
whole
injuries to different
season.
positions.
Yeah.
It almost like seems like it was like meant for him to like have his opportunity this year, the way that it's played out, and he's been given the opportunity, and some of it's the leash has been just kind of shortened on him just because he hasn't really been able to make anything with the opportunity he's been getting.
Yeah. So looking at it here, his career batting average is 281, right? 2018, 2019, back-to-back 300 seasons. Since then, 282, 272, 240 in 2022, but that was only in 95 games. 281 in 2022 and 272 just last year. So, this is a guy who's hit relatively well throughout his career. I think it's a little bit of both because
I feel like he's still adjusting to his role as well.
He's 35. I didn't realize he was that old. He started his career late at age 27, so that makes more sense. So he's 35, so there's definitely some regression there. But I mean, just last year he made the All-Star team and he batted 272. So I think it is a little bit of both. I also I don't know how many people out there know who Cody Ko is. I feel like he kind of looks a little bit like Cody Ko. When I look at him, that's what I see. I can't help but think about it. But he doesn't even look that much like him. I don't know why his face reminds me of Cody Ko, but anyhow, let's move on to some Sixers talk, some Sixers Summer League talk.
We got a summer league game going on right now and getting updates.
Is it still going? Didn't it start at
yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. I'm getting live tweets from the Sixers right now. So
well,
apparently Bona just had a big time alley-oop dunk. They're posting highlights. It looks like they're up 17 now.
Yeah, I mean,
minutes left to go.
There's a lot. Like, this is the first time in a long time I'm actually
I think we lost Dante for a little bit, but we're talking about some Sixers Summer League action. They had a game tonight versus the Oklahoma City Thunder. They're comfortably winning right now. They've had some highlights from. Are you back now?
What's that?
Are you back now?
On Summer League?
Nah, you just you were buffering for a second, so I was just holding it down.
How much of what I was saying did you hear?
None.
Okay, what I was saying was I didn't used to watch the Sixers Summer League. I mean, after the process years, I stopped watching Summer League because there was no one really to watch. But now, they have a lot of intriguing guys. They have Jared McCain, obviously the most intriguing one. Led Duke in scoring, shot 41% from three, one of the more underrated guys in this draft class. You have Ricky Council, who showed flashes for the Sixers. You have Adam Bona, who, although he was a second-round pick, is a really intriguing prospect. He's just an athletic freak. You have Justin Edwards. You have RJ Hampton, Jeffrey Doughton, who you saw very briefly in the regular season.
And some of these guys made an impact for the Sixers last year. I mean, Jeff Doughton got some time with the Sixers last year, Ricky Council. So it's nice to see them mix in the talent with that. Justin Edwards is definitely somebody I'm keeping my eye on from Kentucky and seeing that maybe they can hit on another Kentucky player. You never know what these guys are going to turn out to be, too. So that's why it's always fun to see in the Summer League and see. I think there was a random dude, I forget who he plays for, maybe like the Jazz that dropped like 31 points that was undrafted this weekend in the Summer League, so you never really know what you're going to get. Remember, what was it, Furkan Korkmaz had like the fourth highest scoring game in Summer League history with like 41 points.
Furkan Korkmaz was a Summer League legend. Like that's
funny. So I was in Ocean City, Maryland this weekend, and the cashier at the Food Lion, where I was getting food at with my friend, was from Turkey. And I told him that I was from Philadelphia because we were having a conversation. He was a really nice dude. And when I told him I was from Philly, he started talking about the Sixers, and he said Furkan Korkmaz. And that's who he knew from the Sixers. So, and I told him that he wasn't with the Sixers anymore, but that was the first person that was name dropped.
He spent a long time with the Sixers for a guy in his
very long time. They asked him for that contract extension that was never coming. So
anyway,
he had his moments though. What was it? The Trailblazers game where he had that game-winning three?
Yeah, I think so. Anyway, though, I have the box score here for the Summer League game.
All right, let's read it off. Let's see what we got.
All right, first, give me a guess on who you think is leading the team in scoring right now. With there's 0.7 seconds left in the fourth, so game's over now. So
Ricky Council.
Yep, Ricky Council has 29 points.
Certified bucket getter. Gets to the line too. That's what you like about him. I actually think he's going to be a piece this year.
Well, hold on. Let me read his whole slash line here. So 29 points, 9 of 18 from the floor, 5 of 10 from three, and 6 of 7 from the free throw line, as well as 8 rebounds.
Sheesh.
Hell of a performance. And he led the team in scoring by a lot. I can't wait to watch the highlights to this in a bit. That's one hell of a performance from Ricky Council. Now, a guy I'm sure we all want to hear about, Jared McCain. How did he do? 6 of 15 shooting for 40%. 0 of 6 from three. That's actually a little disappointing. I mean, it's his first ever professional basketball game, so whatever. 3 of 5 from the line, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 15 points.
I remember watching Summer League games where we had a star point guard that was supposed to be a superstar, and he wouldn't even shoot threes. So at least he's shooting them. He's not afraid to shoot them.
I mean, it's his first ever professional basketball game. I mean, and there's been a lot of NBA players who did not do well in their first.
I mean, I'm not going to overreact on his first Summer League game.
I mean, didn't Wembanyama have a bad first game in the Summer League, and everybody was like, "Oh, he's a fraud" or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? Also with 15 points is a guy I mentioned. I like Jeff Doughton Jr. 6 of 11 from the floor, 1 for 3 from three, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 steals, 15 points. So
a little bit of everything.
Him. Adam Bona dropped 7 points as well as 7 rebounds. He had 2 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. I think, we're going to see a lot of blocks, a lot of dunks from him. So, yeah. Romeo Langford didn't play, though. But, yeah, I mean, a great first game from this young group in the summer league who is going to be exciting to watch throughout the summer league, and I'm excited for more of it.
There's probably a couple guys from that roster that actually have a legitimate chance of making the Sixers roster too. I think they have 6 open spots right now, and they have most of their money spent up. So they're gonna have to find guys on cheap deals and two-way contracts that can contribute on both ends. So I just want to see how. I'm really interested to see how they're gonna treat Jared McCain, because a lot of people are actually throwing him in a bunch of different trade discussions, whether it's for Lauri Markkanen or for this or for that. And I really like the idea of just keeping Jared McCain and having the insurance of the talent of having a guy that can come off the bench at worst. I mean, he comes off the bench and spells Tyrese Maxey and can have a similar type of game. He might not be as explosive or as quick, and he adds a little bit different of a dynamic of a game than Tyrese Maxey. But, I mean, for a kid that young, he only has room to grow.
I mean, listen, I love the idea of keeping Jared McCain. I think he has a lot of upside. I didn't get to watch the game because I drove home from the office and I started this podcast. From what I heard, he was getting to the rim with ease. So I definitely am excited to see the highlights there. But if we're talking about a trade for Lauri Markkanen, I'm sorry, McCain. I'll drive you to the airport myself. We're talking about bringing Lauri Markkanen in here.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's something I'd be willing to part with, but I wouldn't be the happiest about it because I always want some insurance for the future. You know what I mean? And that would just create the timeline. I mean, they're all still young guys. And when they signed Caleb Martin the other day, he's only 28 years old. Lauri Markkanen.
Oh yeah, that's something we got to talk about.
27. Here. So. If you match that timeline of the 5 starters, Joel would be the oldest one. And, I mean, that makes that team even that much better. Pretty much what I think is if you get Lauri Markkanen, it kind of cancels out Kristaps Porzingis. I think Porzingis is better than Lauri Markkanen, but they're very similar players with a very similar body type.
I like Markkanen better, and I'm not just saying that because Porzingis is a Boston Celtic.
I mean, Porzingis is really hit or miss. I feel like you kind of
that's what I was about to say. I mean, he started his career out hot with the New York Knicks. He went to the Mavericks. His play dipped a lot. And now he's looking really good again for the Boston Celtics. So, I mean, the consistency is a problem there. Lauri Markkanen, ever since elevating his game when going to the Jazz, I mean, he's just looked phenomenal. He's a 23 plus points per game scorer. He's got a ton of athleticism. He can shoot the three. He's a guy.
He's gigantic too. He's actually a true power forward too. There's not too many guys that you see nowadays that are like a true position, just with so much positionless basketball. But one thing I'm confidently will say is Lauri Markkanen is definitely a power forward.
Yeah, and not only that, this team needs a true power forward.
That's true. I mean, because it's still like we said, there's positionless basketball, but Caleb Martin's still kind of an undersized power forward.
He's 6'5". He's 6'5". Listen, a big thing that went wrong in that series against the Knicks was we got out rebounded bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this lack of size that is currently in the lineup right now.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't even say it was a lack of size. We had the biggest player out on the court. And
here's the thing. You may have had Joel Embiid out there, but all your other guys are undersized. You know what I mean? The second biggest guy was Tobias Harris, who can't even rebound well. And then outside of that, everybody else was like 6'5" and under. So
it's so refreshing to talk about the Sixers and not have to bring up the name Tobias Harris. So as much as we can not bring up his name, just because it's still fresh and new that he's not on the roster, and the more that we bring up the name, it just kind of feels like we're still keeping ourselves in the loop with Tobias Harris.
I just brought him up very briefly.
No, I get what you're saying.
Rebounding in the playoffs, and I think the way the roster currently stands as is, there will be another big lack of rebounding. I mean, Paul George can rebound a little bit. You know what I mean? He's not like they don't have anyone on this team that specializes in rebounding. And when you go into
Well, I
the
mean,
playoffs,
Drummond does do that. It's just you
oh
can't
yeah,
play
well we
him
do
out
have
on the
Drummond
court
off the
with
bench
Embiid.
now. Yeah, I almost forgot about that.
So you can
Yeah.
feel good when Embiid's off the court and what your rebounding is going to look like, but there still has to be another guy that can be mixed in the lineup with Andre
You
Drummond
need a
or Joel
four
Embiid
that
that
can
can rebound.
rebound. My whole point is you need a power forward that can rebound.
Well, I mean, that was also something that Jared McCain prides himself on, him being undersized, but he did rebound the ball pretty well at Duke. I mean, and
That's a
some
good
guys
point
are just
because
good at
Josh
rebounding. I
Hart
mean,
killed us with his rebounding, as a perimeter
Steph
player.
Curry's always been a pretty decent rebounder for his size, and he gets like 5 rebounds a game. So, I mean, you just kind of got to make more of a conscious effort when you're out there. And it doesn't really matter about size. It's all about positioning and where the ball is going to land off the rim. So that's something that Josh Hart has perfected. And I think that's something that has really lengthened the career of Josh Hart. I'm not saying that he wouldn't be in the NBA if he wasn't a rebounder, but just think about how much of an impact those rebounds from Josh Hart have.
I mean, yeah, it had a huge impact in the playoffs. It's a big part
Those
of
are the type of rebounds that
the
create
ball.
shots, like the shot that beat us, Josh Hart, when he
Yeah.
hit that open three when we just weren't covering him because we decided to double Jalen Brunson, which we weren't doing that specific game. We weren't doing the entire game, and then had to in that moment, and then you saw what happened. So there's just going to have to be guys that step up on the team. I think we all know this, that aren't named Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, or Joel Embiid. And we're still trying to figure out which role players and which guys are going to be able to do that. I think Caleb Martin's a good step in the right direction of signing a guy to a
Absolutely.
team-friendly deal. And
I think
you like
right
Andre Drummond
now,
as your backup center. Maybe they bring back Kyle Lowry still. Eric Gordon can give you 10 points off the bench here and there. So
I think right now, I think all this team needs is size. I think in terms of role players that can step up when either one of your when your 3 stars aren't, I think they have it. I mean, they have Kelly Oubre, they have Caleb Martin, they have Eric Gordon. I think Jared McCain might be pretty good as a role player. They have the role players that they need. I would love it if they still had Buddy Hield. I'm a little upset about losing him, but
we'll sign and trade action with the Warriors. I thought that was pretty interesting that there was even a sign and trade to make that happen. But
yeah,
I mean, that was like the route for the Warriors the entire offseason. They were trying to get Paul George via sign and trade. That almost happened itself.
and here's the thing
Hield.
too. And these will be my closing remarks for the night. But you don't even really with this big 3. You're not even going to need to rely that much on the role players. When you have a duo like Embiid and Maxey, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, there's going to be nights where either of them don't have it, maybe especially in the postseason. Then you need a good group of role players to step up. But when you have 3 premier scorers in Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, I feel like there's not going to be many nights where neither one of them is stepping up, and then you need to rely on the role players. I think more often than not, the big 3 is going to get it done, and then you do have a good set of role players who can score, backing them up. So I mean, other than
we're not asking the role players to go out there and just create their own shot and hit a hardened step back or this, that, the other. We're just more so asking of a role player that can catch the ball and shoot a 3 if needed.
You just got to hit open looks.
Has been lacking on this team for quite some time. And I think a lot of these role players, Caleb Martin, I mean, he's coming off 2 postseasons ago, arguably almost beating the Boston Celtics single-handedly.
Yeah. I mean, he's a guy that really stepped up in that series. So, and it's very reassuring to get somebody who you've seen step up in the playoffs. You know what I mean? Like, you have a role player you really like in Kelly Oubre, but I mean, you've never really seen him in the playoffs much. So, to get somebody like
and now we know that he's willing to take on the number 1 offensive assignment from the defensive end, and he's willing to take pressure off his team. And that may save Paul George a little bit more energy and effort so that he can be better on the offensive end.
Yeah. So, I other than the lack of size at the power forward position, I really, really like this roster, and I really like the summer league roster. So I can't wait to watch more to watch some of that.
And see how they correlate and translate to each other, and see which summer league guys can make it on the team. I think Ricky Council the fourth is definitely somebody that's going to be floating around the Sixers roster. I think
I
Jeff
think
Dalton
he's
might
going to
get
make the roster. I think he's going to make the roster. I think McCain's going to make the roster. I think Bona's going to make the roster, depending on who else they can bring in throughout the rest of free agency.
I can see Bona being on Delaware, though, just to get him up to speed, you know what I mean, with Andre Drummond, a known big man, unless Bona can really play the four. I mean, he's a little bit undersized, but he's got a lot of athleticism. So I don't know if they'd be trying to pair him with
I would love to see
Drummond or Reed out there, but I mean, I'm willing to give both rookies a crack at it, especially with there being open spots in the rotation to be had.
I don't know how much I like the idea of Bona being on the floor with Joel Embiid, because Embiid needs a four who can shoot from the perimeter.
I don't even think that's the way that it would go. You know what I mean? I don't think they would
I don't think so either.
With Embiid this early into the game.
You don't have to worry about the offensive Andre Drummond down low, so you can comfortably put Bona out there with Drummond. Yeah. And I think that would be a really nice front court tangent. So, yeah, excited to see what happens.
And we can only see as time tells. But thank you guys for tuning in to another edition of the Paisan Sports Podcast, episode 54. We'll be back next week. We're going to mix in some Eagles talk as well. They'll be getting into mini camp in a couple weeks, so we're going to have to bring them back into the fold. Obviously, we'll have hopefully a healthy Phillies lineup the next time that we talk on here, and we'll have a couple added bursts back to the lineup, and the Sixers will keep doing what they're doing, maybe another edition or two. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next week.